Hi everyone, it's Stephanie, and today I'm going to do something that a lot of you have requested. I'm going to show you how I'm taking this core spun bat and I'm going to make something out of it. A lot of times when we make art yarns, they're beautiful to look at, but most of us have no idea what to do with them. Well, that's really thinking about making something out of art yarn, and I should say something usable or wearable out of art yarn, is how I came up with the design principles that I follow, that I've mentioned in other videos, looking at the color, the texture, and the technique. So, remember I've told you before, if one aspect out of those three is really the focus of a piece, then I will mute the others, okay? So this, in this, it is the texture. Look at all of the texture in this yarn. So this is what I'm going to want to be highlighting or spotlighting, is the texture in this yarn. So therefore, you see the color is muted, and the technique that I'm going to use is also going to be simple. And when I started out thinking about what to make with this art yarn, I thought about crocheting or knitting something. And I was going to use one of my very, very big hooks and just crochet so that nothing was compressed and squished. And I went ahead and I crocheted a nice long scarf, but it was a little boring. I just didn't really like it. And then when I blocked it, it was going to be a little bit too open and too lacy, and I don't think that this yarn is meant to be lacy. To me, this says, you know, cozy, something you cuddle up in, something that keeps you nice and warm, not something that is fancy and lacy. So I unraveled that, and that's when I decided that I was going to break out my Cricut loom here and try to weave with it. So what I'm going to do is show you what ends up coming off of the loom, and I have no idea how this is going to turn out. We're just going to all go through this together. So let me get this focused a little bit more on the loom so that you can see what's going on. So this is a Cricut by Shacked, and Shacked is who makes my matchless spinning wheel. Now, I've realized after listening to a podcast with the founder of Shacked Spindle Company, that I have been saying it shot, and it's really Shacked. So, my apologies for mutilating your last name. So, I got out my Cricut loom. It's a rigid heddle loom, and what that means is that the warp goes through this heddle right here, and it's not bendable. That's where the rigid comes in. You can move it from the up to the down position. This is a 15-inch warp, so I can make items up to 15 inches wide. This is really something that I would use for scarves, anything like that, okay? Possibly a pillow cover. You can make the front of a pillow cover and then sew fabric onto the back. All kinds of different things you can do with a rigid heddle loom. I also have an Ashford Knitters rigid heddle loom, which is a little bit bigger than this one. So maybe I'll do another video on that. Let me know if you all are interested in weaving, and if so, then I will include more weaving videos for you. I have to give you a disclaimer here. Weaving is probably my fibercraft that I am least adept at, so just bear with me here. So I've got the loom warped and ready, and I want to point out something to you here. Because the yarn that we are using is so thick, I spaced out the warp. You'll see that this warp is really, really spaced out. Instead of having yarn in each slot and each hole, that's what these are called on the rigid heddle. You'll see there's a slot and a hole, and one strand of yarn goes in each. Instead, I spaced them out so that there were 4 or 5 spaces apart, each one. And that's because I don't want to, again, I want to feature this yarn. I don't want to feature the warp, okay? This yarn that's going across, this is called the weft, okay? So I want this to be very much a weft-based piece. And if I had too many of the warps going across, let's say if I had filled every single one of these spaces, you would see a lot of this dark blue wool thread that I have through here. And what it would do is it would cover up a lot of the detailing in this yarn, and the detailing is what I want to show off, okay? So enough of that, let's get started. I have not filmed a lot of weaving, so I'm going to make sure, oops, I'm going to try and move things around so that you are focused on the loom. Now, one thing I really do like, and ignore all of this ugliness in the background. Earlier when we were trying to sell our home, I had everything in here looking nice and neat, but that meant that all of my fiber was in storage. And so I've moved it back out, but it is not organized at all. So there's a lot of chaos there. Anyway, let's get started. So what I've done here, you might see right here that I have just some acrylic blue. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see it? I have some acrylic blue yarn woven through here, and that's just to open up and correctly space the warp. I'm going to try to get you even closer here because I don't feel like this is a good, there we go. Now we can really see it better. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. This is the acrylic that I have in here, and what you do is you just weave a couple of rows of that so that it opens up the warp, okay? So, move this back. Sorry for all the adjustments. I'm not used to filming with a loom in my lap. But one of the things I really like about this Cricut loom is that it has this little notch that lets it, here, let me see. This little notch right here that lets it just sort of rest on a table like that, which is really convenient. And it means you can have it in your lap. It doesn't hurt your back. If you're weaving for a long period of time, it's much easier to maneuver. So what I'm going to do is just get started here. And actually, instead of starting with this yarn, I have some sari silk that I think I'm going to do a pass or two first with. Now, I am weird about it, and I ironed my sari silk, but you don't have to do that. I just wanted it to be a little wider. So the heddle is in the up position, and that means that the threads in the holes are going to be raised. Now I've done one pass right here with my shuttle, so now I'm going to move my heddle into the down position. And what that does is just flip the order of the yarn that's up. So instead of the yarn in the holes being up, now the holes are on the bottom and the slots are on the top. So that's why it makes it easy. You don't have to go through with a needle and up and down, or over under each thread. It just moves it for you. Okay, so this is not quite as easy to get through since I've got bulky items that I'm weaving, but that's okay. We will just make it work. I've done one over and one under with the sari silk, and now I'm just going to take the heddle and beat it down here, okay? And I think I'll do one more pass. I'm doing this just by the seat of my pants. I do not have a design in mind. Instead, I'm just taking a look at what's happening on the loom in front of me, and I'm going by gut feel. And that's how I do most of my designing, which is probably not the most efficient way, but it's the way I'm doing right now. Okay, so I think this will be the last sari silk piece. Yeah, I like that. So you see I have a nice thick bunch of sari silk here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off, and then I'm going to switch to my yarn. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just cut off a couple of inches here, right there, and it's no big deal because what I'm going to do is take this end and I am going to, when I have the sheds raised like this, that's where we were. We started in the up position for this piece of silk to come through, so I'm going to move it to the down position, and I'm just going to use my fingers and kind of weave this end through, doing exactly what I had said before that you didn't have to do, which is the under-over thing. And you don't have to do it this way with your fingers, but with this sari silk being so thick, it's easier. So there, and then when I push this down like that, it's going to sort of hide the way, it's going to sort of hide the extra piece there. So now I'm going to come with my core spun yarn, my core spun art yarn, and I'm just going to repeat the same thing. I'm having to lift up the warp threads to get this through, and really what I need to do is wind some of this on because I am way too close to the heddle up here. I told you that weaving is not my strength, but that's okay. So after I get this on, we will definitely wind some on. So I'm just pulling this through. See? And I have another end here, over here. I'm going to do the same thing. When we move it, I'm going to just weave it over under the same way we did. Okay? And now, here's what we have so far. Whoops, sorry. Let me put this in the neutral position. That'll be easier for you to see. That's what we have so far, which I think is really pretty, but what I might do is come back here and put a little bit of sari silk dangling down here or something. So let me wind on first. And how I do that is right here. I'm going to take this off, and I have to loosen this top one because the back has to be able to move in order to wind on. And I'm just going to take this down here. And I'm going to stop about here because I still want to see this sari silk. I could wind it on even more, but I want to keep it on here for a little bit because I know I want to add some embellishments, doing some hand weaving in through here, and I'm just not sure what I want to do yet though. Okay, so now my heddle is in the neutral position here. That means all of the threads or strings in the warp are flat against each other. There's not a shed open. A shed is the part that sort of is V-like, like this, that you bring the shuttle through. Okay, so my last one was in the down position like this, and I know that because I have my shuttle over here on the right side. That means I started over here on the left and I went through. So now it needs to be in the up position. So I'm going to speed this up for you so you're not just stuck watching me go back and forth with this, but I will stop and show you what I decide to do here. Now, one thing when you're weaving, before I speed this up, is you want to make sure that your tension over here on this side or on this side, on either side, you do not want that to be too tight, okay? So before you pull the heddle down and pack it in place, you kind of have the yarn at an angle like this so it doesn't pull this in. Otherwise, instead of your edges being straight like this, they'll curve in toward each other, and we don't want that. So there we go. And now we're going to go down. The only thing I'm not liking about this right now is that the shed does not open very much on this loom, and while that's okay, this yarn is so thick that it makes it a little bit more difficult, but it's okay. We're dealing with it. So as you see right now, it's just back and forth. Getting the... I don't want my work to be perfect and sterile. Instead, I would rather it have these interesting mistakes in them, because I find that that's what really gives your work a unique signature. Not the way we clean up everything, but the things that we choose to leave in. The mistakes, you might say. I'm really liking the way that this is turning out. It looks organic, it's very free, and the texture is readily visible. It has a very deconstructed feel to it, and I like that. Deconstructed, natural feel. That's pretty much what I like when I am creating a clothing item. A little bit of romance thrown in there too, which I think that the way this yarn was spun has a very free and romantic look to it too. So probably about 2 more passes here, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to disguise the warp that's visible on this sari silk. And what I think I want to do is, this piece is going to sort of wrap around my shoulders this way, and this will be in the front where it's closing. So I think I'm going to tie a little bit of silk, possibly maybe in this blue color that I have, although I don't know, that might be a little too bright. Yeah, maybe too bright. Might do... Yeah, I think I might... Let's try it. Let's see what happens. Let's do one in blue, and let's do some, or a couple in the white. So what I'm going to do is I cut a length here of the sari silk, and I have it just folded over my thumb. I should have done this earlier probably, but you know, oh well. What I'm going to do is take it through here, and I'm going to find a warp thread that is visible. So I've got one here. Let me get my thing here. In the beginning, you see? Well, this is closer to you. I'll do it on this end. I've got a warp thread that's visible right here, so I'm going to hook this under here, and you could use your crochet hook or whatever. This is what I used to warp the loom, or to get the threads through. And I'm going to just hook the sari on that end, pull it underneath this, and then just sort of pull the ends through the open loop so that it will hang down like that. And I think that could be really pretty as something hanging off. And I think I'm going to stagger a few bits like that, and then do some white. I might even put some lace in here. We'll see. I get some white on here. So you see, it's a real, it's an intuitive process. So for me, so when people ask me what I make with art yarn, it's my answer is always, well, it depends. Because for me, it really does depend. It depends on the yarn. It depends on what I am feeling that day, what techniques I know. Maybe 6 months from now, I'll learn a new technique that would have changed my mind had I known it when I was doing this. So see, now I've got 2, and what they will do is they'll just be ribbons that sort of hang down here. I will most likely add some yarn. So I have this end of the yarn. So I'm going to clip a bit off, and let's put some of the yarn on here. Okay. And again, it's just it's an organic process for me. It's not something that I can say, step 1, do this, step 2, do that. Now see, now using this yarn in here too with it, which I'll trim probably. I'll do the trimming at the end. Makes it a little bit more rustic looking, I feel. And there's the blue. So then I'm just going to continue working on up this way, and then we will have all of the ribbons finished, and I will roll on, and I will come back to you when I'm rolling on, okay? So I'm finished adding embellishments here to this edge. What I've done is added 2 different colors of sari silk, some locks, right here, locks throughout here, and pieces of the original yarn. So when it's worn, it will look somewhat like this. Okay. I will film again at the end. Well, it is finished. It is about 6 o'clock now. I started weaving this, just after lunch, and this is what I've come up with. See all of the detail? So I actually really like it as kind of a little throw to put on my seat like that. Oh, look at the mess. Oh my goodness. Ignore the mess. I kind of really like it like that, but that's not what I intended it for. So I'm going to quickly switch views and put it on for you. Okay, I'm back. It is the end of the day. You can tell I'm a little worn out. Kids are all home, trying to get dinner ready, but I wanted to pop in and show you this really quick. It is finished. That's what I love about weaving. And see, it's just like this. And what I will probably do is put a nice sparkly pin right here. I can tell you it's very, very warm. Or I could always just sort of pin it like this. So it's a little drapey, which I kind of like that better. So I probably would wear it this way. So it's drapey. It is so warm and so soft, you all. You just want to cuddle up in this and just go to sleep. That's what I want to do right now anyway. But so I just wanted to show you that art yarn is not only beautiful, it can be practical too. This, you could weave this and use it as a pillow cover. You could do a double length of this, so like this, and then the same again, and you can make a small blanket, a lap blanket. I want to show you something else that I'm working on and hope to have finished soon. This is a hat, still on the needles, you see, that I'm working on. It was spun from Cormo, and if you saw me with my video with the picker, that is this, gosh, the light is awful there, I'm sorry. That is this fleece right here, and I am just making up the pattern as I go along. So I'll show you kind of how it's gonna look. It's kind of one of those slouchy beanies. I'm just making it up as it goes along. But, so this is how it will look once I have it completed. So another thing with art yarn, and again, this is simple. It's just stockinette with a garter stitch. I'm so tired I can't think of the words, you all. With garter stitch edging here around the brim. And then I've just got to finish off my decreases here for that to be complete. And then I'll show you one more thing. This, if you watched my video on combing Surrey alpaca fleece, that is how I spun this. Now this is knit, and what I did here to create this space so that it would show off the texture and the detail, I would knit a row here, love that bit right there, knit a row, and then I would wrap several times. I think 3 or 4 times I would wrap around the needle. And then the next time I did a knit row, all of those wraps would come undone, and that gives me the nice bits right here. So you see here is the stockinette stitch. And I also wove some, well, I'm sort of trying this out, weaving some sari silk through here, just doing it with my hands. I'm not sure that I like that. I might actually put some pink through here so that so that the fringe right here is a little bit more. But this is just a nice scarf. See? And it's lovely. It's got this wonderful sheen to it if you can see it in person. And because it's a simple pattern and because the color is not so loud, it's not fighting for attention with anything else. You can just wear it like this. And it's art yarn, but it's not that crazy art yarn that you see. It's something that anyone could wear. So I hope you liked this, sort of a showcase of the things that I am in the process of making or I have made with my art yarn, and I'll continue occasionally to update you if you enjoy seeing these things. But let me know down below what you all have made with art yarn or what you would like to make. Also, since I showed you some weaving today, let me know if you'd like to see more of that. Again, weaving is not my strongest point, but I'm happy to show you what I do know, and maybe you guys can give me some tips because you're great about that. I absolutely love talking to you all, and I love the comments that you leave me. So I hope this helped. Please like and subscribe. I'm trying to grow the channel. And until next time, I'm Stephanie, and happy fibering. Bye-bye.